Welcome to the Two Into You podcast, the show where we explore the difference between love that lifts you up and love that holds you back. We're your hosts, Madeline Campbell.
And I'm Mary Hayes.
And each episode, we'll unpack red flags, celebrate green flags, and help you spot when someone is too into you.
Run by Women's Aid, the Two Into You campaign helps young people recognize when affection and romance crosses the line. Together, we're here to give you the tools to navigate relationships with confidence.
We've heard from you, and today we're going to be answering your questions. It's not that bad. Do we really have to break up? What does abuse look like in LGBT relationships? And how do I avoid a narcissistic abuser?
Before we kick off, remember, if you're worried about your own relationship or even a friend's relationship, you can call the Women's Aid 24-hour national Freephone helpline on 1-800-341-900 or use the chat service at 2intoyou.ie. Both are free and completely confidential. So recently you put up a question and answer box on Instagram to see if our listeners had questions for us or anything at all, comments, statements, just thoughts on stuff that they'd like us to discuss.
Yeah, and we heard back and we've got tons of questions, so that's what we're going to do today.
So our first person says, I've definitely seen some red flags in my relationship, but it's in no way bad enough for me to leave. And I don't want to be alone. What should I do? Do I have to break up with them? That's a very tricky one. I suppose there's kind of this idea that something has to be bad enough. There's like almost this idea of there being a threshold for abuse or that other people have it worse.
I understand the sentiment. Like, everyone wants to be in love. It's nice to be in a romantic relationship. Like, I remember being in my early 20s and like with my rose quartz and my vibrations being like, I'm manifesting a romantic relationship. Like, people want that. I know that I'm not the only person who's done that.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Everyone wants to be in love.
Everyone wants to be in love, but abuse isn't love. And whatever the threshold is that you think you can withstand, it's not worth it because you don't deserve those red flags. And you really don't want to find yourself in a relationship that is abusive. It's not good for you.
Yeah. And thinking in this way, it also really reinforces the behaviors that an abusive or controlling partner will do. So they'll tell you that you're blowing things out of proportion or that you're making it up. It never happened that way, that it's all in your head. Or I'm not always like that. I was just stressed from work, or I'm having a hard time mentally at the moment.
Yeah.
Really what it does is it tells you, well, actually, how you're feeling, it's not important, and that what your gut is telling you is inaccurate. But actually, it's so important to listen to your gut. And I always love the phrase, if they wanted to, they would. If they wanted to treat you right, they would.
Yeah.
And if it feels wrong, it probably is.
Definitely.
So what I would say to this listener is make your decision based on the person that they show you they are. If someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yep.
Don't base your decision on the person that you want them to be, because so often we think, well, they're not like this all the time, or maybe it'll go back to the way it was, or maybe if I do this or change this, that things will get better. But just remember that you are deserving and worth real love. And also thinking back to the start of the relationship, if you were to go back and tell yourself past you what things are like now, what would they say? Would they say, well, that doesn't sound like something that we want to be in or continue? So just really trust your gut, listen to yourself.
Yeah. And I think another way to think about it is, okay, if you were watching this on a reality television show, or if your friend was telling you about what was happening in the relationship, what would you say to them? You wouldn't want anyone else to be experiencing whatever it is that your partner is making you feel that you don't think is bad enough. But if your friend was feeling that way, you'd be like, oh my gosh, no way, that's not acceptable. And I think that you deserve to think that about yourself as well. It can be really hard to figure out where to find information on these things, but something I am really proud of is our Instagram and our TikTok. Like, we have bite-sized pieces of information about intimate images, about certain protections in law. We have things about boundaries. We cover all kinds of things. So if you need that information and you want it quickly, you can follow us at 2into on Instagram and TikTok, and it's there for you. And if you want more and you want an expansion of that information, the website is also always there for you.
Yeah. And Madeline does an amazing job on her social media. She's all over the trends, all over really helpful information and kind of debunking things that you see, say, on social media or even like reality TV. Like we talk about Love Island, we talk about Married at First Sight.
Yeah.
So anything that you're kind of seeing and have questions about, we probably have it covered on Two Into You. So make sure you follow us on socials and share it with your friends as well, because you never know who might need to see it.
So our second question that we got was, if I go on a night out with my boyfriend, he hates when I talk to other lads. He says he trusts me, but he doesn't trust other lads and wants to protect me from them. Any advice on how to help him see he has nothing to worry about?
Straight away, red flags go up in my mind around
Me
this
as well.
one.
Yeah.
So even though he says he trusts you, his actions are definitely saying otherwise. So when he says things like this, really what he's saying is that he doesn't think you're capable of dealing with, say, unwanted advances or attention from other guys.
Yeah.
And he does this because, number one, he is fully aware of what men are capable of when it comes to women.
Yeah.
And two, because he thinks he knows better than you around your safety and the things that you do to keep yourself safe. When in fact, women all day, every day know how to deal with unwanted advances, sexual harassment, and the threat of sexual violence.
Yeah. And it takes away your autonomy. You know how to keep yourself safe because you've lived your life as you the whole time.
Yeah.
Whereas he hasn't.
Yes.
So it completely takes away your ability to just be out in the world. He thinks he knows better than you, but actually you know yourself best.
Exactly. So really what this is giving is, I know what's best for you. And I'm just trying to protect you. And this is something we hear all the time in controlling relationships, where they say, well, I just want you to be safe. Maybe don't go on that night out. Or I just worry about what other guys are capable of. So maybe don't go out with the girls.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll come along. So really encroaching on your space, affecting your independence, things like that. But when your partner trusts you, they want you to hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
They want you to do the things that you want to do. We interact with people all day, every day. That's a very normal thing. And if that's something that makes your partner jealous or uneasy, then that's a big red flag.
Absolutely. And on the flip side, in a healthy relationship, they're more than happy for you to go hang out with your friends. Of course, they'll care about your safety and care about you and want you to feel safe when you're out and about. But they won't care if you're out and talking to other people because they know that you're your own person. And that's a healthy relationship. So if they're saying, well, I don't want you talking to other lads, I don't trust them, that's a big red flag.
Okay, the next question we got is from someone worried about their friend. So they say, my best friend is definitely in a toxic relationship. All the red flags are there and I tried pointing them out early on, like love bombing and jealousy.
Yeah.
But she said it didn't count because he was kind of nerdy and this was his first relationship. Where do I go from here? I want to support her, but she isn't really hearing me.
Well, first, well done on spotting those red flags. Like, it's not always easy. And also well done on being honest and open with your friend. If you've had this conversation with them and they're not ready to hear it, like, people who find themselves in abusive and toxic situations often will make excuses for their partner because, of course, they want to be seen as being in a happy and healthy relationship. And it's not always easy to hear from friends or loved ones that, oh, that's a red flag. I don't like how that looks, because it feels like shame rather than support. But I think what's important to remember here is that you are trying to support your friend. So my first piece of advice would be to check out our How to Help a Friend guide, because it has just really easy and simple ways for you to check in with your friend. And it's really all about staying by your friend's side. So it might not look like you having a conversation with her every single time you see her for coffee. Hey, actually, he told you to take down that Instagram post. You need to break up with him. It might just be, hey, how are you feeling? I saw your Instagram post and then it went down. Are you okay?
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be accusatory.
Yes.
It just needs to be supportive.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be loads of questions as well. It can be listening. Like, listening is so important because she mightn't have the space to do that in her relationship. Her partner might take over every conversation or deny when she brings things up. So just listening can be so huge.
Yeah.
But I suppose the thing to remember is your friend might do things that you don't agree with, that make you uncomfortable, that make you frustrated. Because when you're in an abusive relationship, it can be really shameful.
Yeah.
It can be really confusing. It can be really frightening. And no one wants to think of their own relationship like that. So they might deny things. They might protect their partner. These are very normal. These are by the book responses that we hear all the time. So really, it's just about sticking by them, staying present with them. Very simple things like sending them a text message to say hi, asking them if they want to go for coffee. But then if they're talking more about it, like asking them, what's a fight like between you guys? Or, hey, I noticed that they were like this last night. How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
But just listening in a non-judgmental way. And not telling them you need to break up, you need to leave this person.
Yeah, because it just adds to that shame. Like, okay, well, I didn't break up with him the last time I was with him, so now my friends are going to be mad at me. And then you just feel isolated from every end. And that's not great.
Yeah.
But I think another thing that you can do in addition to those kind of conversations is also highlight the resources that are available. Maybe they're not ready to talk to you about it. And sorry, but it isn't about you. It's about them feeling safe and protected and supported. So maybe highlighting those resources that might tell them that there are places they can go if they need to have that conversation or want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So it could be like sending the relationship quiz in your group chat. It's kind of a nice way to reach the subject. But also it could just be like, hey, I listened to this podcast. You should have a listen. Like, I know you're going on a trip this weekend, add it to your playlist. And that might be a good way for you to just keep in contact and also let her know that you're still thinking of her.
Yeah.
This is an interesting question we got because it's about perfection. So someone said, we've got problems in our relationship, but what if they promise to change? I also feel like if I'm perfect, they will change.
This is such a common one. And very often this comes from a good place.
Yeah.
That maybe if I do this, things will get better or I can help them. But what I would say is, why do you need to change if they're the one causing the problem?
Right.
Because no matter what you do, it won't help because they're trying to make it seem like what they're doing is in some way your fault. And this is actually really common tactic of coercive control. So, for example, it shifts the blame of their actions back to you. So it makes you feel like maybe if I don't do this, if I don't go to this place, if I don't wear that outfit, if I don't talk to that person, if I take that photo down from social media, that things will go back to the way that they were at the start of the relationship. But they won't, because even at the very start of the relationship, in the honeymoon stage when everything seemed really lovely, really what that was, they were setting the groundwork for them to be able to control you later on. So it's a reminder that, okay, things were nice at the start. They're not always like this. But this is love bombing. It's something we've talked about before. And it's a really common tactic of emotional abuse. It's very normal to have relationship problems, but if one person is trying to control another person in a relationship, that's not something that can be fixed with relationship counseling. It shouldn't be the responsibility of another person to change another person's behaviors. Those behaviors are a choice. And say, for example, their issues seem to stem from something like mental health problems or addiction or alcohol or even stress at work or a trauma in their life. There always seem to be some sort of crisis there that makes you feel sorry for them. And it makes you feel like it's never the right time to leave.
But there isn't an excuse for abuse. I think that's something that we have to say a lot because everyone can get stressed at work. A lot of people have mental health issues. A lot of people have experienced trauma in their life. But that doesn't mean that you should feel like you have to walk on eggshells or that you have to be a perfect partner and perfect person.
And your partner's actions should not be your responsibility. So often the blame is shifted onto the person who things are being done to, or their actions become a we problem. And you think, okay, if I just stick with it, I can fix them. It's not your responsibility to fix them. They're a grown-up. They're a person who is responsible for their own life, for their own actions and their own choices, because abuse and controlling behaviors are a choice. And it shouldn't be up to you to fix them because they can't be fixed.
Exactly. So this is another question that came in. My ex was a total narcissistic abuser. How do I avoid narcissistic types? They are so hard to spot, and I'm afraid of falling into the same cycle again with a new person I'm dating. I feel like we hear the term narcissist a lot.
This is like everywhere on social media.
Yeah.
They're a narcissist. This is narcissistic abuse.
It's like my whole For You page, like how to avoid narcissism.
Same.
Yeah.
Absolutely same. So narcissistic abuse, it's not actually a clinical term. And what it does is it explains away coercive control, domestic abuse, which are crimes. Okay.
Yep.
So really what it does is it sugarcoats it. So it paints it as something that is tied to mental illness, a personality type, when actually it's a behavior that someone does. Abusive behavior is something that regular everyday people without narcissism carry out.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the question previous where they were like, oh, but my friend says he's nerdy and it's his first relationship. It actually doesn't matter what type of person it is. If they are exerting power and control over you, they are an abusive person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also only like something like 2% of the population are actually clinically diagnosed with this disorder.
Right.
It has to be diagnosed by a clinical professional. And also it has to be dealt with by a clinical professional. And it also explains it away because it rationalizes their behavior by making you think that their behavior happens because they're sick or broken. So it makes you feel like it's your job to fix them, and that because they're broken, that's the only reason that they've treated you this way. When actually very normal people, your mate, your cousin's friend, the guy you work with, these are the very normal people that exert abusive and controlling behaviors over their partner. This is not new. Narcissism also, it almost makes it seem like this is a unique thing, a unique behavior. But abuse is so common. The way that it happens is so predictable. It happens the same way all the time. So I suppose by painting things as narcissism or narcissistic abuse, it takes away the seriousness of this, because this is domestic abuse. It is coercive control. It's a crime in Ireland, and it has to be named for what it is and taken seriously, because then we can also hold people properly to account who are doing and carrying out these behaviors.
So for this question, someone wrote in, I'm in the early stages with this girl. As someone with ADHD, I need her to know that my boundaries are important to me, but feel weird bringing it up and don't want to scare her off. Any advice? We actually just had a conversation with this, episode 4 with Sarah Monaghan. She talks a lot about boundaries and how it can be a really common conversation to have. But I think just to say that if they aren't responsive to that conversation and you feel weird because you've actually brought it up before and they're kind of pushing it off or ignoring you or making you feel weird about it, that's when it becomes a red flag.
Yeah, and I suppose boundaries look different for everyone. So taking time to figure out your own, what your needs are, what makes you feel comfortable, what you're not comfortable with is really important. The more we know ourselves, the better it can be for our relationship and for our partner. It could be that you need more alone time. Maybe you have a limited social battery. Or for someone with ADHD, maybe you need to know what an environment is going to be like before you're there. But also with ADHD, it can be difficult to maintain your boundaries in a relationship because you might have difficulty saying no to invitations to like social gatherings, things like that. Maybe you overschedule and overcommit and overpromise, but then when it comes time to it, you feel exhausted and you just have zero social battery, but then you feel pressured into something. Or maybe you're struggling to find that balance between life, work, friends, and your relationship, which can often lead to burnout. What I would say is to really go at your own pace. So first of all, figuring out your boundaries and just chatting to them in a casual way. You don't have to actually use the word boundaries. It can just be a chat with them about the things that you do, like what your life looks like. So it could be that every Tuesday I take myself to the library to read, or I like to bring my dog for a walk every evening, or that it's I don't talk to anyone for a day, you know, or after a gathering, I need time to get that social battery back. I need to not see anyone. So communicating those things can be really important. And it also encourages the person you're going out with to do the same. So they know that this is important to you and it's important for them to feel comfortable as well, like they can communicate those things.
We have actually a series on Instagram, and I'll make sure that it's all tagged, whatever, so you can find it. But we have a series on Instagram and it's how to have these conversations. But also just to remind you that boundaries are self-care. So like you're saying, if your partner knows that you have that self-care for you, they can also feel free to have their own boundaries and feel like they can take care of themselves as well within the relationship. Because of course you're partners, but you're also two independent people.
Yes. Our next question then is around abuse in LGBTQ plus relationships. So, I mean, this is a huge topic. This community includes so many different types of people from different gender identities, sexual orientations, with lots of intersecting needs.
Yeah.
So there's no way we're going to be able to cover everything,
Yeah.
but I think we can absolutely give some examples of how abuse can look in relationships, because I suppose relationships come in all different shapes and sizes.
Yeah. So I think what's important to remember about abuse is that it's always about exerting that power and control. So whether or not you're a bi woman in a relationship with a man, or you're a trans woman, whoever you are and however you identify, if you feel that you are under pressure to respond in a certain way in your relationship, if you feel threatened in your relationship, or if you feel that there is a control over you by your partner, that is abuse. So it can be kind of difficult to maybe see those signs because we're not often taught about LGBTQ plus relationships. We're taught about heterosexual relationships. So I think some examples might be like, okay, if you're a bi woman, you're dating a man and he keeps saying, oh, well, actually, you're not really bi. You never met the right guy before. Or they try and put you in situations, like sexual situations, because they're like, oh, well, of course you like women and men, so we're going to do this. And then you feel pressure to act in a certain way. That's a red flag.
Or if they say, well, you're going out with a guy now and we're going to be together forever.
Yeah.
So you're not bi. Like, why do you need to say that?
Yeah. If they're diminishing your identity, whether you're bi, whether you're lesbian, whatever it is, red flag.
Yeah. And also like for young trans women or just anyone in the LGBTQ plus community, the fear of being outed is so huge if you're not already out. And if your partner threatens to out you to friends or family or work, that is a huge red flag because it's something that they're dangling over you, and it's never something that should be used as a way to control you or limit you in any way.
Yeah.
Also, for example, if they say, well, you're not a real woman, so putting you down or making you feel like you should be grateful for any type of attention at all. This is something I've heard from young trans women, which is absolutely horrendous.
It is.
And you deserve to be loved for who you are and celebrated for who you are. And also, if your partner is making fun of your gender expression, being trans or non-binary can look different for so many different people.
Yeah.
So if you present in a way that's maybe not in line with how we understand trans people to look, that can be a red flag because they're saying, well, I don't trust you to make decisions about how you present, how you look, and I don't accept your choices around who you are.
Like you don't have to be the perfect trans girl to be loved, or you don't have to be the perfect non-binary person to be loved. You just have to be you, and that should be celebrated and it should be accepted.
Yeah. There's also so many stereotypes, say, like in like lesbian relationships, like women loving women relationships, especially the kind of U-hauling thing. That there's this assumption that these relationships move really fast. So it's really easy to get caught up in the kind of rose-tinted glasses and love bombing stage. Because, well, this is just what happens when girls get together. But it can be just as frightening and just as scary. And also assumptions around like, who's butch, who's femme, and who can experience abuse. Say you're the butch in the relationship or you present as butch, you can also easily be subjected to emotional abuse or even physical abuse or sexual abuse. So these stereotypes can often act as a barrier or a stigma or something that silences people from recognizing abuse in the first place and also seeking support.
Like they're not only shaming how you present or how you identify, but they're also shaming you into feeling like you're not actually experiencing what you know you're experiencing. And you shouldn't feel like you have to be isolated from that support because you're in an LGBTQ plus relationship. And also to say that people from the LGBT community can also use the Women's Aid Helpline. They can use the chat service. All of our materials on 2 Into You use gender neutral language. So they're very accessible to anyone of any gender expression or sexual orientation. So please do feel like 2 Into You is a space for you as well. Our next listener asks, if you share nudes, surely it's your fault if they leak. If your images are shared, they'll never get taken down. It's not your fault. Just plainly, let's just make sure that is heard, that it's not your fault if they leak, because actually it's the fault of the person who shared them.
Yeah.
So if you feel comfortable and you shared an intimate image and then they went on to share, that's their fault. And actually it's a crime. So that's Coco's law. So if they are sharing your images or if they're threatening to share your images, that is a crime and it's very serious.
And also if you feel pressured into taking or sharing images or videos, that's a red flag also. Your partner shouldn't pressure you into doing things that you're not comfortable to do sexually.
No, absolutely not. And the other point on that is that, okay, well, so they've shared my nudes, they've leaked my images. Well, now they're out there. I'm never going to get them back. It's going to be there forever, which is also not true. There's something called Helpline, and it's a reporting service. And in the last year, 99% of the images that were reported were taken down.
Wow.
And of all of the images that were reported, none of them were hosted. So if they still existed out in the universe, none of them were hosted in Ireland. So they weren't accessible in Ireland. So it's a really scary thing if that happens to you. I know that can be really frightening. It can be really shameful. You can feel a lot of stigma around it because you decided to do something freely or not freely in your relationship. But there are those systems in place that will help you to feel more safe and secure.
And as well, like the idea that images will never get taken down, that they're just out there for everyone to see and you never know when they're going to pop up or who's going to see them in your life. This only adds to the shame and stigma that people already feel if their images are shared illegally.
Yeah.
And intimate image abuse, it's really common in abusive relationships. There are things that you can do yourself as well before going to Helpline.ie. So things like screenshotting it, if you see it, is really important, so that then you can collect that and can be used as evidence. Reporting it to the actual platform itself and asking them to take it down. If it's safe to do so, to ask the person who shared it to take it down. Telling them this is a crime and I can report this.
I think this also touches on the kind of phrase revenge porn. So that's what we're talking about. So if they're threatening to share your image or if they've shared your image as a way to kind of get back at you for breaking up with them or doing something on a night out, that is a crime. But I also think it's important that we kind of talk about that phrase revenge porn because it places the blame on the person who sent the image in the first place.
It's so overused. First of all, it's not pornography because somebody isn't part of the porn industry. They weren't paid to do this. They did it within, say, an intimate relationship within a person that they may have consensually shared those images with, somebody that they trusted. And also, it's not something to be vengeful for.
Exactly.
So implying that it's revenge porn says that, well, you obviously did something wrong for somebody to want to get revenge against you. So again, it's that same kind of a narrative that we see in abuse all the time, this shift of the blame onto the person who this is happening to move the focus away from the person who is making a choice to act in that way in the first place.
It's not revenge porn, it's a crime. Kind of following on that intimate image question, we got a question that says, deep fakes seem to be everywhere right now. I'd love to hear you talk about it on the podcast. It's crazy and scary what technology can do now.
Yeah, deepfakes are everywhere, unfortunately, and it seems to be getting worse and worse, and the technology is moving so fast. So just to explain what a deepfake is, it's a synthetic image or video that has been created with AI, and it's created to look like a real image, but very often the viewer won't know that it is fake. And not all deepfakes are of a sexual nature, but an abuser might use AI to take a photo of you, maybe a fully clothed photo, and with that technology they can remove your clothes so it looks like a nude image. And this could be shared online, it could be shared in group chats, on pornography sites, things like that. So even though it's fake to the viewer, it looks like a real nude image. So really often we will hear that a disgruntled ex will create something like this to guilt or shame their partner to get back into a relationship with them. So even if you've never sent an intimate image or video to someone, if they create this and then try and guilt or coerce you back into the relationship, that is not okay.
No.
It is forced coercion. It's really manipulative behavior. And actually, it's something that I've heard is increasingly a problem amongst young traveller women. This is something they're having to deal with a lot. I spoke to the Galway Traveller Movement recently, and they said that this is a huge issue that they're dealing with. But actually, they're working really hard to try and get images taken down, and they have been able to get images taken down. And where it does happen, a young traveller woman, a deepfake will be created of her, and it'll be posted, say, on a closed Facebook group as a way to kind of shame her and isolate her and give her a bad name within the community, which is absolutely awful.
Yeah.
But again, if this does happen to you, please do reach out for support.
Absolutely.
Call us on the helpline or reach out to the tech service or speak to hotline.ie. Don't feel like you need to go through this on your own because it can be really frightening. Our last question then. This person says, I've just broken up with my abusive partner. How do I work on rebuilding my self-esteem?
That's a really good question. I think breakups are hard in general. Imagine how hard it must be to break up or leave an abusive relationship. So I think the first thing is that you owe yourself grace because you did everything you could to survive an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And you might have been isolated from your community. You may have not been allowed to do the things that used to bring you joy. You may have been shamed to your family and your friends. Like there are so many things that you may have experienced or feel, and that's really difficult to overcome. And so I think the first thing is to just know that you deserve grace and that it will take time to heal from this. So emotional abuse and any abuse has a bodily response. It's traumatic to go through something like that. So if you find yourself maybe not immediately responding to the situation of leaving them, and then you feel shame because, oh, but I thought I loved this person. Why am I not crying?
Yeah.
But then months down the line, you find yourself responding really emotionally to things that don't seem related. That's okay.
Say you feel guilty or say you miss them. You might still love them.
Absolutely.
This was a person who you were possibly in love with and who told you that they love you as well. And you might find yourself replaying what happened, questioning whether it was the right decision. Very often after people leave abusive relationships, their ex might amp up controlling behaviors, or they might even go to the kind of flip side and like over apologize. They might make all these changes and make all these promises, or maybe they'll seem to become the person that you always wanted them to be.
Yeah.
So the thing to remember is that your ex is not the prize to take them off the pedestal.
Absolutely.
Remember to believe them when they showed you who they really are, and to remember and hold on to how you felt when they were treating you that way. But it can absolutely take time. You know, it can feel like a failure for leaving, that maybe you failed in trying to change them. But again, it wasn't your job to change them, and it wasn't a failure. You did everything you need to stay safe.
Exactly.
And actually you did the best thing you could. You succeeded in prioritizing yourself and your happiness and your safety by leaving that person.
Yeah. And I think you've left this relationship, and like it does feel maybe like you have to rebuild like your life, like you have to start over from ground zero. And I think a really lovely practice would be to start and try finding those bits of joy that maybe were taken away from you in your relationship.
Yeah.
And maybe that's going to the cinema alone. Or maybe that's going and having brunch with the gals. It couldn't be whatever it is, but being able to claim that joy back in your life is so important, because he wasn't the prize or they weren't the prize, but you actually are. And you deserve to build your life in a way that brings you joy and makes you feel at peace and makes you feel like you have freedom.
Yeah, because even if you don't feel it now, you deserve to be that person, to be that whole person, and to be loved exactly for who you are.
Something else, it can be a really lonely time. If you've left a relationship, you can feel really alone, but that's actually not the case. There's so much support out there. So whether it's your group of friends, and I think important to note on that is maybe you were kind of isolated from them, but they want you in their life. They were your friend for a reason, and they'll be your friend now. So if you need to reach out to them, they'll be there for you.
And even if you think, well, I abandoned them, that is your abuser in your head telling you that your friends don't want to see you, that you were the one to abandon them and ignore them. But actually, you were doing that to keep yourself safe.
Exactly.
So you have to remember, like we hear all the time from survivors that they go back to their friends and their friends thankfully welcome them with open arms.
Absolutely. Because they love you for who you are.
Yeah.
There's also support in things like the We Speak platform where you can see other survivors. There are things like Beyond Surviving, and they have groups, and there's yoga and all kinds of really beautiful experiences where you can be around people who have also experienced the same thing and know that you're not alone. You can chat to us at 2 and to You. If you feel like you really can't turn to anyone, there will be someone who will listen to you.
Yeah.
So you can chat to us at 2 and to You, or you can call the helpline and someone will be there to hear you. Whether you need to cry, whether you want to talk about it, whatever you need, there will be someone there for you.
Yeah. And you deserve that space to be listened to and heard.
I think also Jody talked about this, and I know we've talked about it before, but I think it's a question that comes up in relation to this. Okay, well, I'm rebuilding my self-esteem and my self-image and everything, but I also want to be in a romantic relationship. And I don't know if there ever will be someone who will love me in the right way and someone who will make me feel good. And I think Jody talked really beautifully about this because she said she felt the same way. She was worried that this was going to be who she was for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And yet she's found a really loving, healthy, respectful relationship, and that they do exist and that you do deserve that.
Yeah. Real, true love is out there and it's based in respect, equality, joy, fun, pleasure. You deserve that.
Absolutely.
And it will find you. As my mom always says, what's for you won't pass you.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
Thank you to everyone for sending in your questions. Remember, we're always here for you. Whatever your question might be, we're here to help at 2intoyou.ie.
And if you're worried about your own relationship or even a friend's relationship, you can call the Women's Aid 24-hour national Freephone helpline on 1-800-341-900 or use the chat service at 2intoyou.ie. Both are free and completely confidential.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you follow the 2 Into You podcast wherever you get your podcasts. A new episode drops the first Monday of every month. See you next time.